The courtroom was packed wall to wall, every seat filled, every camera trained forward. Yet you could have heard a pin drop. Not a whisper, not a shuffle. Just silence, the kind that presses against your skin. Heavy, electric, impossible to ignore. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. In the front row, TLC producers sat frozen, pens hovering midair above their notepads. Behind them, the Brown family fidgeted in quiet dread. Some avoided eye contact altogether, others stared straight ahead like passengers bracing for impact. Then Christine Brown stood. Her chair scraped against the wooden floor, the sound slicing through the silence like a blade. She adjusted the hem of her emerald blouse, not out of vanity, but as if strapping on armor before walking into battle. Her face was calm, but her hands trembled. Not from fear, but from anger. The kind of anger forged over years of being silenced. "Your Honor," she began, her voice low, fragile, almost breaking. "For more than 10 years, I contributed money to a joint grocery fund. I thought it was for all of us, all the wives, all the children, all of our family. That's what I was told. That's what I believed." She paused. The room leaned in. Then she looked up, her voice cracking across the courtroom like a whip. But it was a lie. A ripple of gasps spread through the audience. Robyn Brown's lips parted, but no sound came. She clutched a tissue in her lap, blinking fast while Cody sat stiff behind her, arms folded, gaze fixed on the floor as if this entire explosion didn't have his fingerprints all over it. Christine turned to the jury, her tone hardening. "I fed Robyn's family while my children lived off scraps." The words detonated. Murmurs filled the courtroom. "That wasn't sisterhood," she continued, her voice rising now, her restraint unraveling with every breath. "That was betrayal. And I'm here today because no one else stood up to it. Not in our homes, not on our show, not in our so-called family." The judge didn't interrupt. He knew what this was, not just testimony, but a reckoning. Christine reached into her bag and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper, the creases worn deep, the ink slightly faded. "This," she said, holding it up, "is the original family pact. The one where we promised to split grocery money equally, food for all the children, equal contributions, equal care. I believed in it. I lived it. I taught my kids to share because I thought we were sharing." Her voice cracked again, then turned to steel. "But I came to learn over time that sharing only applied to me." Behind the defense table, Robyn whispered to her lawyer, but the attorney didn't answer. She was watching Christine too closely, recognizing the moment's danger and its truth. Christine's lawyer, Rachel Vance, composed and deliberate, stayed seated. She didn't need to interrupt. Christine owned the room. "I remember one evening, Christine said softly, my daughter Jezebel was crying. All we had left were eggs and peanut butter. I called Robyn, asked if we could borrow from the household fund." Her jaw tightened. "Do you know what she said?" Christine turned to the jury. "She told me she'd already placed the monthly order. Couldn't change anything because her children were picky eaters." Someone in the back whispered, "Wow." Christine exhaled sharply. "But I deposited my share 2 days earlier. My money was part of that order. My children were part of that family. Or so I thought." She stepped to the plaintiff's table, lifting a heavy box onto the stand. 10 years of bank records, grocery lists, delivery receipts, all logged, color-coded, cataloged. "These records," she said, "show the pattern. My money paid for Robyn's groceries. My children got leftovers, if that." Robyn's composure cracked. "I didn't do anything wrong," she snapped. "I had younger kids. They had dietary needs." Christine's just enough. The judge cut in, raising his hand. "You'll have your chance, Mrs. Brown." Christine didn't flinch. "You always said you needed Robyn," she said, her voice trembling but firm. "And we needed two. I had 6 kids and no man at the table. You had Cody on your couch every night and cupboards full of food. Fresh fruit, meats, a stocked pantry while my kids were being told to ration milk." Tears welled in her eyes but didn't fall. "My children grew up believing we were poor," she whispered. "But the truth is, we were neglected." Camera shutters clicked in the hallway. TLC producers would later admit they had never seen Christine speak with such fire. She straightened, faced the judge, and spoke one last time. "This isn't about money. It's about fairness. It's about children eating or not eating. It's about promises made and broken. I'm not here to hurt anyone. I'm here to protect the people I love. The judge nodded slowly. Thank you, Ms. Brown. Christine exhaled. For the first time in years, her chest felt light. Across the aisle, Robyn looked away, twisting her tissue to shreds. Cody still refused to raise his head. Rachel Vance stood, calm, collected, deadly precise. Your Honor, she said, gesturing toward the binders. Exhibit A, 10 years of grocery payments, account transfers, and delivery records, all tied to Robyn Brown's accounts. The projector screen flickered on. Rows of data appeared, deposits from 2013 through 2021, all under Christine's name. Monthly contributions ranging from $600 to $1,000. Every dollar marked household grocery fund. Gasps again. Rachel tapped the screen. Of 128 recorded grocery orders, only 7 were delivered to Christine's home. 7. The images that followed silenced the room. Robyn's pantry organized, overflowing. Shelves of organic snacks and vitamins. Christine's nearly bare eggs, butter, a half-empty ketchup bottle. Robyn's freezer, salmon, meats, berries. Christine's wilted vegetables and freezer-burned chicken legs in a grocery bag. Rachel turned to the jury. This is not jealousy, she said. This is justice. Christine contributed to a system built on trust, a trust that was violated. Her money fed another household while her own kids went without. A juror wiped their eyes. Rachel continued Exhibit B, Venmo and PayPal records. Over 100 transactions labeled grocery fund, all sent to Robyn Brown. Every receipt verified. Every delivery logged to one address. A map appeared on screen, dotted with pins. 95% of deliveries, Rachel said, to Robyn's house. Robyn finally spoke, voice trembling. I had the youngest kids. I wasn't stockpiling anything. Christine's making it sound dramatic. Rachel's tone stayed even. So you admit you managed the orders, deliveries, and funds? Robyn hesitated. Well, yes, but I didn't keep track. Rachel nodded. Understood, because Christine did. Then she pressed play on a voice recording. Christine's voice echoed through the room. Hey, Robyn, I saw the Costco order. Was any of that for our house? Robyn's voice answered, quiet, almost casual. No, sorry. The kids are blowing through snacks. I'll make sure you get something next time. Christine's voice again. It's been 5 months since we've gotten anything. Then Robyn's, yeah, I know. But this order was kind of necessary. The audio ended. The silence that followed was absolute. Christine rose slowly, holding a printed screenshot of a text thread. Order already submitted, Robyn had written. Let's circle back next cycle. Christine looked up. There was never a next cycle. Her voice quivered. I started baking my own bread. Not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't buy a loaf and still send my children to school with fruit. Rachel turned to the jury one last time. This isn't drama. It's documentation. This isn't resentment. It's truth. Christine Brown didn't come here to expose a show. She came here to expose a pattern, a decade of trust broken and children left behind. And for a long, suspended moment, the courtroom stayed silent. Not a whisper, not a shuffle. Only the sound of a mother's truth hanging in the air like a verdict waiting to fall. The judge cleared his throat softly, breaking the stillness that had gripped the room. Mrs. Brown, he said, turning toward Robyn, your attorney may proceed. Robyn's lawyer, a composed man named Derek Shaw, rose from his seat. His movements were slow, deliberate, like someone stepping into dangerous territory. He knew every question mattered now. One wrong word could unravel everything. He adjusted his tie, then faced Christine. Ms. Brown, he began, voice steady, would you say it's possible that during those years there were misunderstandings in the allocation of funds, simple miscommunications between households? Christine looked up, unflinching. Miscommunications don't last a decade, Mr. Shaw. Her tone cut clean, the audience shifting in their seats. Perhaps, the lawyer continued, Some of those transfers you mentioned were voluntary. Yes, you wanted to support the family as a whole. Christine's eyes narrowed slightly. Support the family as a whole. Christine's eyes narrowed slightly. I did. I believed in the family. I didn't believe I was funding one household while my kids skipped meals. The lawyer nodded, pacing slowly before the jury. And you never personally confronted Mrs. Brown until now? Christine took a breath. I confronted her many times. The first time, she told me she'd handle it. The second time, she told me not to make things awkward for the cameras. The third time, she paused, voice tightening. She said if I didn't like the arrangement, I could stop contributing. But by then, my kids were already depending on the fund. Robyn's attorney raised his brows. And yet, you didn't stop. Christine's voice cracked with restrained fury. No, because I thought stopping would make me selfish. That's the lie I lived under. That sacrifice was loyalty. The jury watched her closely, every word landing heavy. The lawyer took a step back. Mrs. Brown, did you ever intend to harm Robyn with this lawsuit? Christine shook her head. No, I intended to stop the harm. The lawyer opened his mouth again, but before he could continue, Rachel Vance stood. Objection, Your Honor, she said coolly. Counsel is attempting to shift emotional responsibility. My client is not on trial for caring too much. Sustained, the judge replied without hesitation. Rachel stepped forward. Your Honor, may I redirect? The judge nodded. Rachel turned toward Robyn.com, collected, her voice like tempered steel. Mrs. Brown, you testified that you managed the grocery orders, correct? Robyn nodded slowly. Yes. You also said you didn't keep records. But every order required your login, your delivery address, and your payment confirmation. Correct? Robyn hesitated. I suppose so. So when you told Christine that she'd get something next time, but never sent anything that wasn't a misunderstanding, that was a decision. The words hit like a hammer. Robyn's lips parted, trembling slightly. It wasn't intentional. I had the youngest kids. I had to prioritize. Rachel tilted her head. Prioritize or monopolize? A soft gasp rippled across the room. Rachel walked toward the screen again. Let's revisit Exhibit C. The lights dimmed slightly as the next slide appeared. A photo comparison. On the left, Robyn's dining table, covered with groceries, labeled bins, rows of cereal boxes. On the right, a photo of Christine's kitchen table. A cracked bowl of oatmeal, a single banana, and an empty milk carton. Rachel's voice softened, but carried. One mother was feeding comfort. The other was feeding survival. Robyn looked down, her eyes glassy. Rachel stepped closer to the jury. This case isn't about envy. It's about ethics. About a woman who believed in unity, while the system she trusted fed her silence. Christine watched quietly, hands clasped in her lap. Every word echoed her truth. Rachel turned back toward Robyn. Mrs. Brown, is it true that in 2018, you received an email from Christine asking for a detailed breakdown of the grocery expenses? Robyn's face paled slightly. I don't recall. Rachel raised an eyebrow. Allow me to refresh your memory. She lifted a printed email. Robyn, please send a summary of this month's grocery breakdown. I just want to make sure everyone's covered equally. Love, Christine. Beneath it, Robyn's reply. Christine, please don't make this complicated. I'll handle it. Rachel lowered the page. Was that your response? Robyn's voice wavered. Yes, but I didn't mean Rachel. Cut in gently. You meant exactly what it says. Silence again. The judge adjusted his glasses, observing Robyn with a long, unreadable stare. Rachel turned to the jury for her final question. If this were simply a misunderstanding, why hide the records? Robyn didn't answer. Christine's quiet voice broke through the silence. Because she knew what she was doing. Robyn's lawyer objected. Speculation. Sustained, the judge said automatically, but the words had already landed. Rachel stepped back. No further questions, Your Honor. The judge nodded solemnly. The court will recess for 10 minutes before closing arguments. As the gavel struck once, the courtroom erupted into hushed conversation. Cameras clicked. Producers whispered to one another. Christine stayed seated, head bowed, breathing deeply. Rachel placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You did exactly what you came here to do," she murmured. Across the aisle, Robyn hunched over, face buried in her palms, while Cody leaned forward, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor as if searching for a defense he no longer believed in. The courtroom buzzed with one unspoken thought. The truth had already been spoken, and it couldn't be taken back. The courtroom had gone silent again. Christine's last words still hung in the air like smoke after a fire. And when she asked why, all she ever got were excuses. She walked deliberately past the jury box, each step measured, each word burning with quiet fury. Robyn had the family's trust, she said. She had the financial control, and she abused both. The audience leaned forward. Christine didn't need to shout. Her calmness made it even more devastating. She cooked almond-crusted chicken and blended smoothies for her children, Christine continued, voice steady, while I was scraping mold off cheese and telling my kids just a few more days until payday. Robyn shot up from her chair. I was doing my best. The judge's brow arched. "Sit down, Mrs. Brown. You'll have your turn." A hush swept over the room. Christine's children sat in the second row, silent, but their faces told the story better than words ever could. Quiet sadness, knowing eyes, years of empty cupboards and silent meals. Rachel Vance, Christine's lawyer, spoke softly but firmly. "It's not about the food," she said, turning toward the jury. "It's about what the food represents: love, fairness, safety, dignity. And for years that was withheld from half this family, while the other half had seconds." Christine sat down, gaze steady on the jury. She didn't weep. She didn't have to. The truth was finally doing what silence never could, speaking for itself. The courtroom had already endured spreadsheets, bank records, and 10 years of bottled betrayal. But what came next, no one was ready for. The judge adjusted his glasses. The court will now hear testimony from the next witness for the plaintiff, Miss Robyn Brown. A murmur rippled through the gallery like thunder before a storm. From the second row, Gwendolyn rose. She moved calmly to the witness stand, wearing a simple gray blazer, black jeans, no makeup, no jewelry, just honesty and courage. Christine lifted her eyes to her daughter, pride softening her face. But Gwen didn't look back. Her focus was already locked on Robyn. After being sworn in, Rachel approached. "Gwendolyn, can you tell us your relationship to the plaintiff?" "I'm her daughter," Gwen replied clearly, "one of 6. "And you're 23, correct?" "Yes," Rachel nodded. "While your mother was contributing to the family grocery fund? Were you living in her home?" "Yes, from childhood through college breaks." Rachel leaned in. "And during that time, did you ever notice anything unusual about the groceries in your home?" Gwen gave a dry laugh, not from humor, but disbelief. "Yeah, I noticed we didn't have any." Laughter rippled lightly through the courtroom. Even the judge's mouth twitched before he composed himself again. Gwen leaned forward. "Growing up, I thought we were just broke. Dinner was rice, frozen corn, sometimes just toast and peanut butter. But when I babysat at Robyn's house, it was like Costco exploded in there." Rachel raised a brow. "Can you elaborate?" "Robyn always had everything. Name brand, snacks, organic cereals, Lunchables, rotisserie chicken, shelves packed to the ceiling. Meanwhile, our fridge looked like the day before payday. Every day." The courtroom fell still. Rachel asked, "And were you aware that your mother contributed money to that same grocery fund?" Gwen nodded. "She showed me. I remember seeing one transfer grocery shares, $800. We didn't get a single item from that order." She turned toward Robyn. "She told my mom once there wasn't enough to go around, but somehow she always had enough for her house." The audience shifted uneasily. Rachel's tone softened. "Did you ever confront Robyn directly?" Gwen nodded. "Once I was 17, I asked if I could take some snacks home after babysitting. She told me those are for my kids." Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Christine's eyes dropped to her lap, lip trembling. Gwen continued, her voice breaking just slightly. "When I told my mom, she said it was okay. She said we had enough. But we didn't. She just didn't want to start trouble. She thought being kind would fix things. Rachel gestured to the screen behind her. "Your Honor, Exhibit B, a text exchange between mother and daughter." The screen lit up. Gwen texts, "Mom, we need more food. I'm tired of leftovers." Christine texts, "I know. I sent money to Robyn already. I'll try again next week." Rachel faced the jury. Even Christine's children saw the imbalance. It wasn't hidden, it was endured. She turned back to Gwen. "Did you ever witness Robyn intentionally leaving your family out of orders?" Gwen hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, Thanksgiving 2018. Robyn was ordering a huge holiday shipment. I overheard her confirming quantities to turkeys, to hams, pies, soda, sides, the works." Rachel asked, "And did any of that arrive at your mother's home?" "No," Gwen said quietly. "We had turkey deli meat that year." Another wave of gasps swept through the courtroom. Rachel pressed gently. "Did you ask Robyn about it?" Gwen's jaw tightened. "She told me your mom's not hosting this year." Gwen's jaw tightened. "She told me your mom's not hosting this year." Christine covered her mouth, trying to hold back a sob. Rachel's face was unreadable. "But your mother had contributed to that holiday fund." "Yes," Gwen said firmly. "She even sent extra, thinking Robyn was overwhelmed. But she wasn't overwhelmed. She was selfish." Robyn suddenly rose, trembling. "I did what I could. I never meant to hurt anyone." The judge slammed his gavel once. "Mrs. Brown, one more outburst and you'll be held in contempt." Robyn collapsed back into her seat, eyes glistening, hands shaking. Gwen looked at her one last time. "I don't hate you," she said softly. "I just wanted you to respect us." Rachel stepped closer. "If you could say one thing to Robyn in this courtroom, what would it be?" Gwen swallowed, her voice quiet but cutting. "I'd say, you made us feel like second-class kids. You took what was meant for all of us and used it for your own. We know what you did. My siblings? No. And one day, your kids will too. When they ask why, I hope you have an answer." The silence that followed was absolute. The jury looked shaken. Robyn didn't lift her eyes. Christine cried quietly into a handkerchief. Grief and relief bound together. As Gwen stepped down from the stand, no one clapped. There was no applause, only understanding. Even the skeptical faces in the gallery had softened. The truth was no longer just in documents or spreadsheets. It now had a heartbeat, a daughter's voice echoing through a courtroom. When court adjourned for lunch, the hallway erupted with reporters. Gwen stopped briefly, her words calm and final. "I didn't come here to punish anyone. I came to tell the truth. My mom gave everything, and she was treated like nothing." Her words carried further than any headline ever could. Inside the courtroom, Robyn Brown sat frozen, because she knew what was coming next would break what little defense she had left. The documents were real. The testimonies aligned. And for the first time in years, Christine wasn't alone. As the judge returned to the bench, the whispers faded again. Rachel Vance rose once more, a manila folder clutched tightly in her hand. "Your Honor," she began, her voice unwavering. "We are now submitting what may be the most damning piece of evidence in this entire case, Exhibit C." The projector flickered on. On the screen appeared a scanned document, dated May 2nd, 2013, bearing 4 familiar signatures: Mary Brown, Janelle Brown, Christine Brown, Robyn Brown. Rachel turned toward the jury, her expression solemn. "This," she said, "is the original family grocery agreement signed by all 4 wives when they formalized the household finances." She zoomed in on a highlighted clause boxed in red. Clause 5. Funds will be gathered monthly. The appointed household grocery coordinator, Robyn Brown, shall ensure equal distribution of food and necessities based on the number of children per household. All children shall be equal priority regardless of which wife is their biological mother. Rachel looked up from the screen. "Equal priority," she repeated slowly. That was the promise, and it was broken. The courtroom was silent again, not because of shock this time, but because the truth had finally crystallized into evidence. There it was, in black and white. A simple sheet of paper aged slightly at the corners, bearing 4 signatures that once meant trust, unity, and family. And there, beneath those names, Robyn Brown's. Rachel didn't speak. She didn't have to. The silence that filled the courtroom spoke louder than any argument could. The truth was right there, typed, signed, sealed. Christine sat perfectly still, her eyes fixed on the screen. Cody, seated just behind Robyn, rubbed his temples, his jaw locked tight. Robyn's face went pale, not just shaken, caught. The judge leaned forward, voice low and deliberate. "This contract," he said slowly, "was willingly signed." Rachel nodded once. "Yes, Your Honor, we also have testimony confirming there was a family meeting. All parties agreed Robyn would oversee purchases because she had more time and managed most of the online orders." The judge looked at Robyn. "So you were entrusted with this responsibility?" Rachel tapped the paper lightly. And yet, despite promising equality, the defendant directed over 70% of the household groceries to her own home for 10 years. A ripple of shock moved through the room. Rachel's voice sharpened. This wasn't just selfishness. This was breach of contract, breach of faith, breach of family. She motioned toward the screen again. The projector flickered to life, this time showing an old 2015 episode of Sister Wives. The footage rolled. Robyn and Christine in a bright kitchen. Robyn's voice, smiling, confident. "We've all decided I'll handle the grocery orders. Don't worry, I'll look after everyone." Rachel paused the video. The silence that followed was unbearable. She turned back to Robyn. "You looked into a camera and made that promise," Rachel said quietly. "But you broke it." Robyn's lawyer leaped to his feet. "Objection, emotional manipulation." "Overruled," said the judge, without hesitation. "Mrs. Brown, you may answer." Robyn stood, trembling. I didn't keep count. Tried, but things got chaotic. The kids, the stress." Filming Rachel cut in sharply. "So your defense is that you simply forgot to feed half the family?" Robyn's voice cracked. "No. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I thought Christine would say something if Christine's soft voice broke through the tension. I did say something," she murmured. "You just didn't listen." Rachel clicked to the next slide. A color-coded calendar appeared on the screen. Red marks for Christine's payments. Green for deliveries to Robyn's house. Yellow for Christine's. The screen was almost entirely green. Rachel turned to the jury. This wasn't hearsay. This wasn't confusion. This was pattern. A signed contract that guaranteed equality and a decade of deliberate imbalance. Robyn's lawyer rose again, his tone weary. "Your Honor, this was a spiritual agreement, not a legal one. My client is not trained in business. She acted in good faith." The judge leaned forward, voice stern. "Sir, when someone signs something involving money and dependence, faith does not nullify responsibility." The lawyer sat, defeated. Then came the final blow. Rachel pulled one last document from her folder. "Your Honor, this is the defendant's email from 2016. She read aloud, "Hey Christine, heads up. I had to use this month's grocery fund for some extra homeschooling supplies and bulk pantry items. I'll catch up next cycle." Rachel lowered the page. That next cycle never came. 8 years later, it still hasn't. Christine bowed her head slightly. Her expression was calm, almost holy in its restraint. Tears shimmered in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. The jury sat frozen, every face heavy with comprehension. Rachel's voice softened. "I don't think Robyn Brown is a villain, but I do think she abused trust for convenience, for favoritism, for power. And my client, a woman who gave everything, was left to feed silence and shame." The gavel struck once. "Court is adjourned until verdict," the judge said. Outside, the press swarmed the courthouse steps. Headlines were already forming. "Signed and ignored, Christine's evidence shatters. Robyn's defense, Robyn Brown violated pact to feed only her children, Cody." Silent as Christine speaks truth to power for 4 days. The world had watched Christine Brown stand alone and refuse to bend. Now, the courtroom fell silent once more as the jury returned. The foreperson, a woman in a blue blazer, stood, paper trembling in her hands. "Has the jury reached a unanimous verdict?" asked the judge. "We have, Your Honor." She passed the envelope. The judge read it once, twice, then looked up. "In the matter of Brown v. Brown breach of domestic agreement, financial abuse, and emotional harm, we rule in favor of the plaintiff." Christine Brown gasps. Silence. Then a quiet, collective exhale, the sound of justice settling into the air. Christine didn't cry. She didn't move. She just closed her eyes and breathed, as if resurfacing after being underwater for years. The judge continued, "We grant damages of $32,000 for misappropriated funds and recognize emotional harm inflicted upon the plaintiff and her dependents. The defendant, Mrs. Robyn Brown, must issue a formal, written apology within 30 days. Robyn rose slowly, her face ghostly pale. "I never wanted this," she whispered. The judge's gaze was steel. "Intent doesn't erase impact, Mrs. Brown. You signed a contract. You broke it. This court has spoken." Cody leaned in toward her, his words low, bitter. "You could have ended this years ago." Outside, the courthouse steps became a storm of microphones and flashing cameras. Christine emerged, daughters on each side, her composure unshakable. She faced the crowd, the woman who had once been invisible, now impossible to ignore. "I didn't come to destroy anyone," she began, her voice calm but powerful. "I came to speak up for my children, for the truth, and for every woman who was ever told to stay quiet and give more." She glanced toward the cameras, speaking now to the world. "To every woman who ever fed her family last, who watched someone else eat first, I see you. I was you, and you deserve better." Behind her, Robyn and Cody slipped quietly out a side door. Robyn hid behind sunglasses, avoiding the lights. Cody said nothing because there was nothing left to say. That night, the headlines lit up every screen. Christine Brown wins landmark case. This time, "We eat first," Robyn Brown ordered to apologize. TLC production, suspended fans call it. Christine's power era has begun. Clips of Gwen's tearful testimony went viral, reaching millions. Clips of Gwen's tearful testimony went viral, reaching millions. Christine's post-verdict words echoed across platforms, from TikTok to Twitter, a battle cry for women who'd been unheard too long. 2 weeks later, Christine posted a single photo on Instagram. Her children gathered around a dinner table laughing, plates full, light everywhere. The caption read, "This time, we eat first." And across the internet, people cheered because justice, for once, didn't just sound like a verdict. It looked like a family finally fed.